Snow slashes sideways across your face, 1,000 needles of ice driven by a wind that sounds like a jet engine and a howling child at the same time. Your flashlight is useless now, a weak cone of light swallowed whole by the white wall in front of you. Somewhere ahead, the dog barks. Not a playful bark, not even the sharp, alert sound you heard when he first noticed the storm rolling in over the ridge. This one is frantic, urgent, ricocheting through the blizzard like it's trying to claw its way back to you. You push forward, boots sinking deep with every step. Snow fills the grooves your soles leave before you can even lift your foot again. Your knees ache, your lungs burn. The air is so cold it feels like you're inhaling glass. "Buddy," you shout. The wind tears your voice apart and flings it into the dark. You weren't supposed to be here. Not tonight, not in weather like this. You know storms. You've seen sand shredding tents in the desert, rain turning roads into rivers in jungles you still dream about. You've marched through all of it. You retired for a reason. The dog barks again, closer now, then cuts off sharply, as if something jammed a hand over his mouth. You stop. The snow roars past you, a sideways waterfall of white. For a moment you think about turning back, feeling for the barely visible path that leads to your cabin, the one you cleared earlier that afternoon when the sky was still a hard, honest blue. The smart move would be to retreat, regroup, wait this out. But you picture his face, ears too big for his head, brown eyes always watching you, the way he had nudged your hand that morning and whined softly as you stared at the framed medals on the wall. You move forward. The blizzard presses in closer, like the world has narrowed to just you, the storm, and the invisible line your boots drag through the snow. Time dissolves. All that matters is the next step, the next breath you wrestle from the frozen air. Then ahead of you, something impossible appears. A glow. Faint at first, a suggestion of warmth smeared across the white. It flickers, brightens, fades, then steadies. A light that shouldn't be there. Not on this side of the mountain. Not in this direction. Not where you know, because you've checked more than once that the maps say there is nothing. You blink, snow crusting your eyelashes. The glow sharpens into a trembling circle of amber light, suspended in the storm like a tiny captured sun. It sways, rises, dips. You recognize the motion before you recognize the object. A lantern, a real, old-fashioned lantern, glass fogged and haloed with ice, swinging from something you can't quite see. And beneath it, shadow against shadow, the dog. He stands perfectly still in the blizzard, as if the storm isn't touching him. Snow piles at his paws, clings to his fur, diamonds of frost sparkling on his whiskers when the lantern light swings just right. His eyes find you through the chaos, bright and steady, as if he's been waiting. You feel your balance tilt. You didn't bring a lantern. You live alone up here. And according to every map you've studied, there is no structure, no outpost, no village on this side of the mountain for at least 20 kilometers, only forest, rock, and snow. The dog gives a single short bark, then turns his head. The lantern's light swings with him, throwing a brief crescent of illumination across the white curtain. For a heartbeat, the storm parts just enough for you to see it. A roof line. Faint dark covered in snow but unmistakable, a peaked roof, sagging slightly under decades of winter. Behind it another, and another, sloping shadows and straight lines, geometry that doesn't belong in untouched wilderness. You are staring at the outline of a village. The wind shoves against your back, as if impatient. You move again, legs heavy, and the dog steps forward in unison, matching your pace. The lantern swings, casting jerky beams of light across what you now realize is a narrow lane carved between snow-buried houses, wooden beams, cracked windows, the vague, hunched shapes of doorways sealed by ice. It feels like walking into a photograph, left too long in the sun, real, but faded around the edges. As you cross some invisible threshold, the storm's fury dulls. The wind is still there, still howling overhead, but here between the leaning houses it becomes a muffled roar, like distant traffic in a city you left decades ago. Snow still falls, but slower, thicker, as if you've stepped inside the snow globe of your own unease. The dog stops again, right in the middle of the lane. The lantern's light reflects in his eyes and spills over his shoulders, dropping in weak puddles at his paws. It gives you enough visibility to see the nearest house properly now. The wood is gray and splintered, the way timber looks after too many winters. A small window stares at you, blind with frost. Behind the ice, something hangs crooked, a scrap of curtain frozen mid-sway, like it got caught between movement and silence and never chose. You realize the dog is not looking at you anymore. His gaze is fixed on the house directly opposite, head tilted slightly to one side. You follow his line of sight and see it, a door bowed but intact, swollen with moisture, rimmed with ice. And above the door, hanging from a rusting iron hook, the lantern. No, not hanging, swinging. There is no wind here strong enough to move it. The air is too still, too heavy. Yet it sways back and forth, creaking softly on its hook. The flame inside burns a trembling gold, not bright enough to banish the shadows that cluster in the doorway, but enough to paint the snow in strokes of orange. You feel something old stir inside your chest. Not memory, exactly. More like the echo of a memory, the ghost of a feeling you haven't allowed yourself in years, the sense that you are not the one in control. The dog whines under his breath, just once. The sound is small, but it cuts through everything, the storm, the creaking metal, the buzzing in your own ears, to draw your attention back to him. He glances at you, as if asking a question you don't yet understand, then takes a step toward the door. Snow crunches softly beneath his paws. You should turn around, you know this. You made a career out of not walking blind into unknown structures in hostile conditions. Every drilled instinct tells you to mark the position, retreat, return when the storm clears, maybe bring equipment, maybe don't return at all. You take a step forward anyway. Your gloved hand reaches toward the doorframe, fingertips brushing the frozen wood. The texture is rough, ridged, grooves of grain preserved beneath a thin shell of ice. For some reason, that detail calms you. Wood is wood, no matter how strange the place. You press your palm flat against it. Cold penetrates the glove, slides into your bones. The sensation shocks you back into your body, into the present moment. Your weight on your right foot, your left knee protesting, the dog's breath puffing out in quick clouds beside you. You push. The door resists, glued in place by decades of frost and silence. Then something deep inside the frame cracks with a sound like a breaking branch. The door lurches inward, just a fraction, a thin vertical line of darkness appearing between wood and wall. The lantern flares. For the briefest instant, the flame inside swells, bright and angry, long enough to throw a sharp, clear beam directly through that narrow gap. You shouldn't be able to see anything in that sliver of space. But you do. You see a floor warped and dusty, a shape against the far wall, draped in something pale, and beyond that, barely visible in the far corner, the outline of a small wooden chair. On that chair, an object. You can't make out its details, just its presence. Small, rectangular, sitting in the center of the seat as if someone placed it there carefully, deliberately, and then never came back. Your heart stumbles over itself. The dog growls, a low, rumbling sound you've never heard from him before. Not at thunder, not at strangers, not even that time a bear wandered too close to the cabin, and he stood on the porch snarling his defiance. This sound is different, not aggressive, not scared. Warning! The lantern's flame shrinks again, returning to its earlier trembling size. The darkness beyond the doorway seems to lean closer, pressing itself against the narrow opening, watching you back. You widen the gap with your shoulder, forcing the door open far enough to step through if you want. Snow from the threshold slides inside in a soft tumble, scattering across the warped floor. The scent hits you then, dry, stale air trapped for too long, mixed with something faint and metallic, like rust and old coins. The dog does not cross the threshold. He stands at your heel, body tense, front paws planted firmly on the snow outside. His nose twitches, testing the air that drifts from the open room. His ears flatten against his skull. You look down at him, he looks up at you. For a long moment, you hover there, 1 foot inside, 1 foot out, breath steaming in the dim light. The storm roars somewhere far above the roofs, but here in the narrow lane, in this tiny pocket of forgotten wood and ice, everything is unnervingly quiet. Come on, you murmur, more to yourself than to him. You step fully into the house. The temperature drops further, in a way that has nothing to do with the weather outside. The air feels thicker, heavier, as if every breath has to force its way past invisible cobwebs. The floor complains under your weight, boards flexing but holding. Behind you, you hear the delicate patter of paws. The dog has followed. He steps over the threshold with a reluctance that ripples through his entire body, every muscle alert. He stays close, almost brushing your leg, as if proximity to you is the only thing making this acceptable. The lantern outside continues to swing, sending stripes of light through the doorway. They sweep across the interior, floor, wall, the draped shape, like the slow rotation of a lighthouse beam. The object on the chair becomes clearer. A book. Not thick, not thin, just average. Bound in dark leather, corners softened by use. A strip of faded cloth dangles from its middle like a tired tongue. The chair itself is small, as if built for a child or someone who never grew very tall. You move toward it, each step measured, boots stirring little spirals of dust from the floorboards. Your skin prickles beneath your layers, a creeping awareness that you are walking deeper into something that has been waiting. For 50 years, the village has not existed on any map you could find. But this book has been waiting on its chair, inside its frozen house, in its buried lane. Waiting for someone to open it. The dog whines again, barely audible, as you reach out your hand. Your fingers hover just above the cover. Outside, the wind hits the village with a fresh surge of fury. The lantern slams against its hook metal, shrieking. Light shatters across the room in chaotic flashes. For a heartbeat, your shadow and the dog stretch long across the far wall, overlapping with something else, another outline, faint and hunched, sitting exactly where you stand now. You blink. The light steadies. The extra shadow is gone. Your hand closes on the book. The leather is dry and brittle, but not frozen, not dead. Heat creeps up your arm from the contact, the way warmth seeps into fingers curled around a mug of coffee after coming in from the cold. You lift it. On the cover, pressed into the worn surface, are three things that shouldn't exist together. Your family name, the symbol of your old unit, and a date from before you were born. Your grip tightens. You don't know it yet, but the moment you open this book, the hole you've been pretending you're not still falling through will finally have a bottom. You open to the first page. The first page is blank. Not yellowed, not brittle, just empty. A clean sheet of paper in a book that looks older than you. The dog presses against your leg, his nose brushing your knee as if urging you to close it, leave it, run. But you don't. You can't. Something in your chest pulls you forward, the same instinct that made you walk into ambush zones when you knew there had to be someone alive inside. You turn the page. The second one is not blank. Ink spreads across it in slanted handwriting, dark and deliberate, the letters sharp as though carved rather than written. You inhale slowly, the cold air scraping the back of your throat as your eyes move across the first line. If you are reading this, then the village has chosen you. Your stomach tightens not with fear but recognition, not of the words but of the cadence. You've heard that voice somewhere before, not in your ears, in your memory, in the way old orders were phrased, in the way your father used to speak when something heavy pressed behind his eyes. You read on. You won't remember why, not yet, but the dog does. Your breath stalls. The dog lets out a low, vibrating sound, half growl, half plea. His tail curls low as he backs a step away from the chair, never taking his eyes off the book. He stands like he's guarding you from the pages, from the house, from the truth inching toward you. You flip to the next page. This one is different. Two horizontal smears mar the lower half, as though tears once soaked into it and froze, warping the fibers. Above them, new words twist in darker ink. Follow him, he knows the way back. A gust of wind slams the door behind you. The book jumps in your hands. The dog whirls toward the noise, fur rising along his spine. The sound echoes through the house, then fades into a suffocating stillness. For a long moment, nothing stirs but the lantern outside, its light crawling across the floorboards like a restless spirit. You close the book slowly. The leather creaks, soft and tired. You glance around the room again, noticing now the little details you missed entering. The half-collapsed shelf near the far wall. A metal cup lying on its side. Boot prints that aren't yours, faint and dust-soft, leading deeper inside. Someone was here after the village vanished from every map. Someone read this book. Someone left it on that chair. You kneel beside the dog, resting a gloved hand on his shoulder. His muscles twitch under your palm like coiled rope, tension refusing to settle. When you speak, your voice sounds quieter, swallowed by the house. Do you know something I do? You murmur. He doesn't turn his head, but he leans his weight into your hand, a silent answer, heavy and warm. You've known dogs that barked at every noise, ones that trembled at thunderstorms, but this is different. This is instinct sharpened by something old and deep. You rise again. The air shifts behind you. A soft tick, subtle but clear, echoes from the back room. The dog growls. You freeze listening, another tick, like wood settling, or something else shifting in the dark. Your flashlight beam skitters across peeling wallpaper, exposed beams, a doorway half opened. The book's weight feels heavier in your hand. You remember the single line. Follow him. Your instincts split cleanly, one half tugging toward the sound in the back room, the other pulling you toward the exit, toward the dog, toward the unknown path beyond this house. A lifetime of decision-making presses on your spine. You turn to the dog. I guess we're leaving, you murmur. He bolts first, paws gliding over the icy floor as he slips through the doorway and back into the snow. You follow quickly, shutting the warped door behind you, not to keep anything out, but to keep the dark inside exactly where it belongs. Outside, the storm has settled into a soft, almost eerie calm. Snow drifts lazily now, flakes floating like ash. The lane stretches ahead, lined with slumped houses that lean inward as though huddling for warmth. The dog walks forward slowly, not pulling, not tugging this time, but guiding. He stays within 2 steps of you, occasionally glancing back to make sure you're following. The book stays clenched in your hand. Lead the way, buddy, you whisper. Your voice doesn't echo here. It falls straight down into the snow-swallowed hole. As you walk deeper into the village, more signs of impossible life appear, lanterns hanging where wind shouldn't reach them, doors slightly ajar, footprints that begin and end without a source. Some prints are human, some smaller, some you don't want to categorize. The dog stops suddenly. You almost step past him, catching yourself at the last second. He stands rigid, ears sharp, staring straight ahead. In front of you rises the largest building you've seen so far, 2 stories, roof still mostly intact, chimney bent like a snapped bone. The windows are sealed with frost, except for one on the upper floor where the ice has melted in a perfect circle. Behind that circle, a shadow stands. Your pulse stutters. You blink. The shadow moves backward, slowly, unnaturally smoothly, and disappears. Your throat tenses, but no sound escapes. The dog whines again, higher this time, a tremor vibrating through the sound. He presses closer to your leg, nudging you gently, not forward, not backward, just waiting. You lower your hand and he nudges into your palm. His breath fogs the cold air, rising in jittery bursts. You look up again at the house. The melted circle on the window is still there, glistening like something warm pressed against it moments ago. Snowflakes melt against the remaining frost, creating little rivers that streak downward. Something inside wants you to follow. Something inside the book wants it too. You open it again, thumbing through pages quickly. Most are blank. A few show faint, ghost-pale marks, letters erased long ago, as if the book changed its mind about what it wanted to say. Near the middle, one page is soaked through with ink. A single line stands out. Don't trust the window. You lift your head slowly. The window stares back at you, clean and perfect, a single round hole of melted frost. The dog presses even closer, fur brushing your leg. You whisper, "You brought me here for a reason, didn't you?" He doesn't answer, not with a sound, but he turns sharply to the right, away from the house, then looks back at you with an urgency you can feel in your bones. He doesn't want you inside. But something does. You look one last time at the house, and in the faint circle of the upper window, something shifts, like a face drifting just out of view. Cold slides down your spine. You follow the dog. He leads you away from the building, down another lane that curls between houses half swallowed by snow. Your boots crunch softly, each step matching his. The storm settles around you like a thick blanket. The village grows quieter. Then you see it. Another house, but this one smaller, older, leaning heavily to the left. The doorway is partially buried in snow, but the dog moves toward it without hesitation, digging at the drift with frantic paws. You understand why a moment later. Something wooden protrudes from the snow near the foundation. A sign. You kneel, brushing fresh powder away with your gloved hand until the faded letters reveal themselves. Your breath stops, because the sign reads a name. Your family name. Not scribbled, not carved crudely. Built, painted, weathered by decades. A name you didn't expect to see in a place you didn't know existed. And beneath it, another line in smaller script. Home of the Last Witness. The book feels like a heartbeat in your hand. The dog steps close, pressing his forehead against your knee. You look down at him. He looks up at you. And in that moment, you understand something fundamental, something that tightens your chest in a way you haven't felt since your last day in uniform. He didn't bring you into the storm. He brought you home. The snow around the sign seems untouched for decades. That's what unsettles you most, not the name, not the faded paint, not the hollow-eyed lean of the house, but the stillness, as if whatever buried this doorway wanted it preserved, not forgotten, kept, guarded. Your glove brushes the letters again, slower this time. Your family name. You whisper it out loud, testing the sound in this frozen valley. The syllables drift into the air and die quickly, swallowed by thick silence. The dog watches your face, head tilted slightly, as if he recognizes what your voice just cracked open. He paws the snow again, more gently this time, not digging but touching, urging. You stand, the book still in your hand, the cold creeping deeper into the seams of your clothes. The village around you hums with a silence so dense it feels like breath held too long. You take one step toward the broken doorway. The dog blocks you. Not aggressively, not in fear. His body moves instinctively, placing himself between you and the house. He whines softly, not the warning tone, but something else, a tremor, a plea. You crouch, bringing your face closer to his. Snow settles on his muzzle, on the tips of his ears. You don't want me to go in there, you murmur. His breath fogs the air in tiny, worried bursts. His eyes flick from you to the door and back, a loop of silent argument. Inside that dark opening lies a truth he knows, and you don't. You place a hand on the top of his head, feeling the warmth beneath the thick winter coat. I hear you, you whisper, but I have to look. He lowers his head, resigned, but he stays pressed to your knee as you push through the drift and approach the doorway. Up close, the wood looks brittle, swollen from decades of storms. Frost feathers across the frame in delicate arcs, like someone etched them with careful fingers. You press your palm against it. It's warm. Not heated, not alive, but warm enough to feel wrong. Your pulse kicks. The dog growls not loud but deep, a vibration that crawls up your shins. You step back instinctively, and the warmth fades as soon as your glove leaves the door. You hold still, listening. Snowflakes drift sideways, whispering against your coat. Wind sighs behind the houses. Wood creaks somewhere deeper in the village. You lean forward again and touch the frame. Warm. And behind that warmth, something moves. Not a figure, not a shadow, a feeling. Like breath exhaled through wood. You pull your hand back sharply, a jolt of recognition shooting through your arm. You felt this before, far from here, in a place with sand instead of snow, where something unseen watched you cross a ruined street after a blast took out half your team. That same pressure, that same presence. You step back. The dog presses against your leg protectively. You grip the book tighter. Not this house, you murmur, not yet. The dog's tail gives one hesitant wag, just one, and then settles again as he guides you away from the doorway. You don't get far. A scrape echoes from the porch. You freeze, muscles locking on instinct. The dog snaps his head toward the sound, ears spiking upward. For a moment, nothing follows, just the kind of silence that can tip either toward safety or toward danger. Then comes the second scrape. Closer. Inside the house. Something shifts behind the door, slow, dragging, as if weight drifts over a wooden floor you have not stepped on yet. The noise crawls into your spine, a cold note plucked on some nerve you thought had hardened over the years. The dog takes a step backward and plants himself between you and the doorway. His stance is absolute. Whatever is inside, he doesn't want it coming out. Whatever is inside, he doesn't want you going in. You swallow, the cold tightening your throat. We're leaving, you whisper. Not out of fear, out of decision. The village isn't one place. It's many. And if this house carries the wrong kind of memory, another might hold the right kind. You follow the dog deeper into the lane. He trots ahead now, more confident, almost relieved that you listened. His paw prints dot the snow in a neat path, weaving between houses leaning under the weight of 50 winters. Your breath forms a thin white veil as you walk. Each inhale cuts like frost. Each exhale disappears too quickly. The village feels different here. Not warmer, not alive, but waiting. The houses are closer together, roofs sloping inward, corridors narrowing into crooked alleys. The lantern light from earlier doesn't reach this far. The snow dulls into muted gray. A faint hum rides the air. You stop, tilting your head. The dog's ears twitch. The hum grows, not mechanical, not electrical, more like a distant voice, layered dozens of times, buried beneath wind and wood and memory, a vibration that isn't sound so much as pressure. You follow it. Your boots sink deeper as the drift thickens, swallowing your ankles. The dog moves quicker, as if he knows where the hum originates. His tail is lifted now, not wagging, but alert. Then you see it. A building that looks newer than the rest. Wood less worn, windows unbroken. A roof reinforced with beams someone added long after the village died. Snow piles against its sides, but the edges are disturbed, as if something brushed through recently. The hum grows louder. The dog stops at the threshold, this time not blocking you, but watching carefully, his breath a steady rhythm in the cold. You push the door. It opens easily. Too easily. A gust of warmer air slips past you, brushing your face with a ghost of old smoke and something else, paper, ink, dust warmed by breath that shouldn't exist here. Inside, the room glows with a faint blue light. Flowers. Tiny ones no bigger than coins, growing in cracks between the floorboards, petals glowing softly, pulsing like distant stars. They sway even though there's no wind inside. You kneel, reaching a gloved hand toward them. They dim. All at once, the soft blue light drains from the petals, leaving them translucent and still. The hum vanishes with them. You sit frozen, hand hovering. The dog noses your shoulder gently, as if to say you didn't hurt them, they simply reacted to you. You exhale slowly. Then notice something else. A table. Simple wood, dust-covered, with a box resting on top, a metal tin etched with symbols that match the ones in your book. Your heartbeat shifts. Not faster. Deeper. You walk to the table, each step muffled by dust and time. The dog follows but keeps a respectful distance, nose lifted, sensing something beneath the scent of old metal. You open the box. Inside rests a small object wrapped in cloth. You unfold the fabric carefully, hands steady though your breath is not. A compass. Old, heavy, familiar. Too familiar. Your father had one just like it. Carried it every day. Told you once, just once, that if you ever found one with the needle that pointed home instead of north, you'd know you were exactly where you were meant to be. This needle spins once, twice, then stops, not pointing north, pointing toward the house with your family name. You close your eyes. Memory stirs faint, fractured, like frost melting, just enough to reveal a blurred shape underneath. You pocket the compass. The dog lets out a short, sharp bark. You turn. The flowers glow again, bright blue, pulsing faster. Then they all dim at once. A warning. Your breath quickens. Something's coming, you whisper. The dog growls softly. From outside, a faint crunch of snow. Slow. Measuring. Footsteps. Not yours. Not the dog's. Someone or something moving through the village. Coming closer. You kill your flashlight. The room drops into dim gray, lit only by the faint blue pulse from the flowers between the floorboards. Their glow beats faster now, like a cluster of tiny hearts racing beneath the wood. The dog presses closer to your leg, the heat of his body cutting through the chill. His ears angle forward, tracking the rhythm outside. Crunch. Pause. Crunch. The steps drag slightly, heel sinking, toe sliding. Not the sure stride of a hunter, not the careless stomp of someone who doesn't know this place. These are measured steps, someone counting distances, someone remembering a route. You move with the dog to the side of the doorway, pressing your back against the wall. The old wood is as cold as bone. The book rests against your ribs, wedged beneath your arm. The compass in your pocket seems to vibrate with each approaching footfall. The dog doesn't growl this time. He listens. So do you. Snow rubs against snow, soft and gritty, as the steps reach the front of the building. Then they stop. The world narrows to the sound of the dog's breath and your own pulse thudding in your ears. Silence stretches. You picture a figure on the other side of the door. Height, weight, hand on the latch. You see the motion before it happens. The handle turns. The door creaks inward a few centimeters. You slide your hand instinctively toward your hip, toward a holster that hasn't been there in years. Fingers meet only coat and air. Old habits don't care about retirement paperwork. The gap widens. Snowlight spills across the floor. No one stands there. The doorway opens all the way on its own, the hinges protesting. Cold air spills in, rolling along the floor like fog. The dog's muscles coil, ready, but he doesn't lunge. He watches. You do too. Nothing enters. No shape, no shadow. But something does arrive. The smell. Wet wool, old tobacco, metal gun oil. A combination so specific it punches straight through time and lands in a memory you've kept locked away. A cramped hallway, a kitchen table, a weathered jacket hanging by the door back home. Your father's scent. It shouldn't be here. The dog lifts his nose, inhaling sharply, then emits a soft sound, half whimper, half recognition. His tail gives a small, hesitant sweep, the way it does when he sees someone he remembers but doesn't fully trust. You step forward. The blue flowers' glow fades with each pace you take toward the door, as if they're reluctant to illuminate what waits outside. You cross the threshold. The village looks unchanged, but the air feels disturbed, like someone just walked through a room and left behind a swirl of dust. You see them then. Footprints. Fresh. They start a few meters from the doorway, as if the person materialized out of the storm itself. The impressions are sharp, edges clean, boots, not shoes, heavy tread, pattern familiar. Too familiar. You glance down at your own boots. The soles match. Same make, same model, same arrangement of lines and blocks designed for traction in rough terrain, but the prints ahead of you are different in one quiet way. Deeper. Heavier. Whoever walked here was your size, your step length, your boot type, but they carried more weight, gear, burden, years. You feel the dog's gaze on your face. Yeah, you murmur, voice barely audible. I see it. You follow. The dog moves beside you, choosing not to walk in the prints but parallel to them, as if respecting a boundary even he can't explain. You track the trail between the houses, past the leaning roofs and blind windows. The storm has gentled to a fine powder that drifts lazily down, but it hasn't begun to fill the impressions yet. Whoever you're following passed through minutes ago, maybe less. Another lane opens onto a wider space. A square. At its center, a circular stone structure rises, waist-high, ringed with carved symbols now softened by frost. A well, maybe, or a communal fire pit. Around it, the footprints circle once, then approach. Then stop. You reach the rim. Snow dusts the flat stones, but you brush it aside, exposing the carvings beneath. Names. Chiseled deep, then worn by time. Some letters are lost to cracks, others remain sharp enough to slice your gaze. Your eyes skim the surface, catching fragments. Maria. Ovic. Blson. A cluster of surnames from different languages, all sharing the same date beneath them. 50 years ago. You keep reading. Your glove pauses over one line. The letters there are clearer than the rest, as though someone recarved them more recently. You spell them in your head slowly, even though you know them without looking. Your father's full name. Beneath it, a title in smaller script. Last witness. The same phrase as the door to the house, bearing your family name. Beside his name is an emblem, the same one pressed into your book's cover, the same symbol your old unit adopted long after this village allegedly disappeared. Your throat tightens around the air you try to pull in. You steady your hand on the stone, but it doesn't feel solid anymore. It feels like the world's axis just shifted a degree. The dog rests his chin gently on the edge of the well, nose inches from your father's name. His breath fogs the stone. He doesn't make a sound. He doesn't need to. Your father was here. Not as a traveler. Not by accident. He belonged. You let your fingers trace the carved letters, feeling each groove like scar tissue. What did you do here? You murmur under your breaths. The compass in your pocket vibrates faintly, or maybe that's just your hand shaking. You pull it out, flipping open the lid. The needle swings wild for a moment, then steadies. This time, it doesn't point toward the house with your family name. It points straight down. Into the well. You stare into the circle of stone. Snow has collected at the bottom like a lid, smooth and unbroken. No rope, no bucket, just white. The dog shifts, uneasy, and half steps in front of you, as if to block you from leaning too far over the edge. You set the compass on the rim. The needle twitches once, then points downward again with stubborn insistence. You check the book. Pages flick past your thumb. Blank, blank, faint smears, fractured letters. Near the front, you find a page where the ink blooms like a spill, letters emerging from the chaos only when you tilt the paper against the pale light. We couldn't save them, so we erased them. The words land in your chest like falling stones. Beneath that sentence, another line, thinner, written in a tighter hand. If he ever finds this place, tell him the truth before it takes him to. No name attached. No signature. But somehow you know who wrote it. Your father always believed in written orders, in leaving things recorded, in insurance against memory. You feel the dog's fur brush your wrist. He nudges your hand gently, pulling your attention away from the well. Another sound rises around the square. Not footsteps this time. Voices. Faint, overlapping, like a radio picking up fragments of distant conversations on an old frequency. They drift in and out of clarity, phrases too short and too layered to understand. The tone is what gets you, casual, domestic, the background hum of a life that once existed here. The village is remembering itself. Or forcing you to remember it. You straighten. Around the square, shapes flicker at the edges of vision. A child's silhouette darting behind a doorway. A woman bending to pick up a bucket. A pair of men standing under the melted circle window, heads close together in argument. Every time you look directly, they vanish. Every time you look away, they're there. The dog's gaze snaps from corner to corner, tracking movements you can't fully see. He barks once, sharp, confused, almost offended by the trick of it. The sound cuts through the layered murmurs. Everything stops. Silence slams down. You and the dog stand alone again beside the well and the carved names. Then a new voice. Clear. Male, roughened with age and smoke. Close. You shouldn't have come back, it says. The dog spins, teeth bared, a snarl ripping from his throat that you've never heard before. It rumbles through his entire body, dragging the hairs along his spine upright. You turn. A figure stands in the alley where you entered the square. No spectral flicker, no half-present blur. Solid. His coat is heavy military cut but not regulation, patched and repatched. Snow clings to the shoulders in uneven clumps. His beard is white, trimmed roughly with a hand that no longer cares about precision. Deep lines dig around his mouth and eyes, carved by cold and hard decisions. But it's his eyes that freeze you in place. Because they are your eyes. Same color, same shape, same tired edge. You know this face. Not from photographs. From mirrors. If you added 20, 30 years, stripped some muscle, packed more regret into your skin, you could be looking at yourself. The dog's snarl fades into a confused whine. He takes a hesitant step forward, nose working the air. The old man's gaze drops to him, softens, then hardens again as it lifts back to you. You really don't remember, do you? He asks quietly. Your tongue feels too big, your jaw too stiff. Remember what, you manage. He walks forward with a limp you know in your bones, the kind born of shrapnel and long marches. Each step is careful, deliberate. He doesn't come too close, stopping just out of easy reach. The dog moves between you, firmly planting himself like a living shield. The old man huffs something like a laugh. It comes out empty. Always protecting you, he mutters, eyeing the dog, even after all this time. You swallow against the dryness in your mouth. Who are you, you ask. He tilts his head, studying you. You're really asking me that, he says. You hold his gaze. He sighs, a sound full of snow and smoke and too many winters. I'm the one who stayed when you ran, he says, the one who watched this place die, the one who signed the order to wipe it off the maps. His hand lifts slowly, fingers pointing toward the carved name on the stone rim beside you. Your father's. Last witness, he says, that was me. Your heart seems to miss a beat. Your vision narrows, the edges blurring like frost creeping in from the corners. That's not possible, you whisper. He looks at you with an expression you've seen on soldiers who have had to repeat bad news too many times. Son, he says. And the word hits you harder than any blast ever did. You've been here before. For a moment, the square feels too small to contain what he just said. The dog steps sideways, keeping himself between you and the old man, shoulders tight, tail stiff, not wagging, not tucked, but locked in a posture you've seen only once before. The stance he took the night lightning struck near the cabin and the earth itself seemed to recoil. Your father, if that's truly who this man is, watches the dog's reaction with a flicker of sadness. Still loyal, he murmurs, always knew more than he let on. You try to breathe, but the cold feels heavier now, thicker, as if the air itself wants to hold your lungs in place. You find your voice, choked though it is. What do you mean I've been here before? Your father lifts his eyes to yours, and for an instant you see the same storm-weathered resilience you grew up with, the man who taught you to tie knots, to read clouds, to fix radios with bare wires and hope. But beneath that, something weighed down by time and secrets. You came here as a boy, he says quietly. You didn't know, you weren't supposed to know. Know what? He doesn't answer immediately. His gaze travels past you, toward the house with your family name, the one the dog refused to let you enter. A shadow flickers across his expression, something like grief and warning braided together. When he turns back, his jaw is set. This village, he says, was never meant to be found. That's why we buried it, why we erased every record, why we left only what couldn't be destroyed. His eyes flick to the compass in your pocket. It called you back. Your breath catches not from cold now, but from something deeper, heavier. The dog senses the shift in you and presses his flank against your leg for grounding. Your father steps closer, and the dog growls, not loud but decisive. He raises both hands slowly in surrender. I'm not here to hurt him, he tells the dog, or you. The dog's growl fades, but his stance remains coiled. Your father nods once in acknowledgement, then looks you square in the face. You don't remember this place because you weren't supposed to carry the burden. You were too young. I thought sparing you was the right thing, but memory doesn't stay gone forever. Not here. A gust of wind drags snow around your feet, spiraling like restless spirits. You ask, voice low. What happened here? His eyes close. When they open again, they're older. Something that shouldn't have lived did. He swallows. And it wanted witnesses. You feel a chill slip beneath your skin, colder than the storm, colder than the well. The dog leans into you harder, tail trembling. Your father watches the dog, then speaks more softly. He remembers it, that's why he led you back. Animals see things we don't, they remember what we try to forget. You look down at the dog, his gaze meets yours, steady, haunted, loyal. You whisper, what did you see? He doesn't answer, of course, but his body shivers once, sharp, involuntary. Your father continues, voice cracking. You were the last child to survive here, the rest. He exhales, breath fogging in the bitter air. Weren't as lucky. Your chest tightens. Survive what? The thinning. The word drops like a stone into winter water. You've heard it before once, whispered in a briefing overseas, dismissed as folklore. The thinning, when barriers between worlds wear thin, when places crack in the wrong season, under the wrong moon, under the wrong grief. You whisper, that's not real. His stare is unflinching. It is here. The wind groans through the ruined beams overhead. He steps closer, and the dog lets him this time, though he stays pressed against your leg like an anchor. The village sits on a fracture, your father says. Most years it sleeps, some years it sees, that year it took. He bows his head, too much. The air around you feels wrong now, heavy with memory, thick with things unseen. You feel the sense of being watched, not by eyes, but by the village itself, as if its old grief stirs in the walls. Your voice drops. How did I survive? He looks at you like the truth hurts more than the lie ever could. You didn't. Your heart stops. The world tilts. You stare at him, waiting for clarity, correction, anything. He continues, each word slow, as if dragged from a wound. You fell into the thinning, right there. He points toward the well. You vanished, no body, no sound, just gone. You feel your knees weaken. But you were gone for hours, he says. We thought the fracture took you like the others. His breath shakes once, a rare crack in the man you thought you remembered. Then your dog, your first dog, dragged you out. Your chest seizes. You didn't have a dog as a child, not one you remember. But the dog beside you whines softly, tail twitching as if recalling a memory older than his body. Your father continues. He pulled you out, half dead, freezing, rambling nonsense you never remembered later, and when you woke, I made the choice. What choice? I took the memory. I let the thinning take it instead of taking you. He looks pained. I traded your knowing for your living. The silence around you feels brittle, like one wrong breath could shatter it. You speak through clenched teeth. And now it's coming back. He nods. The storm is the first sign, the village waking is the second. His eyes flick to the house with your family name. And the third is calling for you. The dog stiffens at that, fur standing along his spine. A new sound cuts the cold. A faint tap. Then another. Coming from the direction of your family home. Your father's face drains of color. It heard you, he whispers. It remembers your voice. The tapping becomes rhythmic, deliberate, like fingernails against glass. The meltide circle window. Your father steps back urgently. You need to leave that house alone, he says, voice shaking in a way you've never heard, if it makes you remember too fast. He swallows. You won't come back this time. The tapping stops. Silence. Then, faint footsteps inside the house. Pacing. Waiting. Knowing. The dog whimpers sharp, panicked, not at the house but at you. He nudges your leg desperately, urging you away. But the compass in your pocket begins to vibrate again. Harder, stronger, pointing now not down, but straight toward the house. Your father sees the movement in your expression and his own face crumples. No, he says hoarsely, not that way, not again. But the dog's gaze says something different. He looks at you with aching, frightened certainty. He doesn't want you near that house, but he knows you're already being drawn. Your father whispers. The village kept something of you, a piece you left behind. If it calls you, it's because it wants it back. A cold deeper than winter wraps your spine. And from the doorway of your family home, a single voice murmurs your name. Your childhood name. The name no one has spoken in decades. The sound of your childhood name doesn't echo. It lands. Heavy, precise, like a stone placed carefully into your chest. You haven't heard that version of yourself in years, trimmed away by rank, by titles, by call signs, by the quieter life you tried to build afterward. Yet here in this buried square, the name feels fresh, wet, newly spoken. Your father flinches. The dog jerks, eyes snapping toward the house with your family name. His whole body shudders once, as if the sound scraped across his nerves. The doorway of the house remains dark. No face. No movement. Just the memory of your name hanging in the air like frost. You find your voice, brittle as the frozen wood around you. You heard that, you ask. Your father doesn't answer. He's staring at the doorway, jaw clenched so hard you can see the muscle jump. His hands curl into fists at his sides, knuckles pale beneath leather gloves. Don't answer it, he mutters. It used my name, you say quietly. He looks at you sharply. It uses what you leave behind. That's all it's ever done. That's all it needs to do. The dog lets out a low, restless sound, shifting weight from paw to paw, ears pinned back. His gaze keeps flicking between you and the house, like he's mapping a line he can't let you cross. You feel the compass buzzing in your pocket now, as if a small trapped bird thrashes its wings against metal. You slide it out. The needle is no longer steady. It trembles, quivering between the well and the house as if torn. Then slowly, reluctantly, it settles. Toward the house. Your father sees it and shakes his head, something like desperation creeping into his voice. This place feeds on what you're missing, he says, on holes, gaps, regrets. You gave it a piece of yourself when you were a child. It doesn't get the rest without a fight. The dog steps forward suddenly, bumping your hand with his snout, forcing the compass to tilt. The needle swings wildly, then points to him. You freeze. He holds your gaze, eyes gleaming with a damp sheen that looks too much like understanding. Your father exhales sharply. Of course, he mutters. Of course he's the anchor. You turn toward him. What do you mean? Last time you came back because something on this side loved you enough to pull you out. His eyes flick to the dog. They always do. Last time you start. He cuts you off. You don't remember that dog, do you? No. But part of you does, he says. Enough to find another one, enough for him to find you. The dog presses closer, as if needing the contact as badly as you do. You study his brown eyes, the tilt of his ears, the pattern of fur across his face. Something stirs inside your mind, like a migraine starting in reverse, a pressure, a shimmer. For half a second, everything wobbles. You're smaller, shorter. The village isn't abandoned. Smoke rises from chimneys. Voices call across snow. A boy's hand, your hand, smaller, raw from cold, rests on the scruff of a different dog. Older, gray around the muzzle, same eyes. You blink. The vision fractures, dissolving into the ruined square. Your knees almost buckle. The dog edges under your hand, steadying you. Your father watches carefully, not stepping in. It's bleeding through, he says. The memories, the fractures doing it faster this time. Why faster? Your voice comes out rough, scraped. Because last time you survived, he says quietly. This time it wants to finish the job. Another voice drifts from the doorway. Softer, higher. A child's voice. Your voice decades lighter, calling your father's name. He swears under his breath. You hear the strain in him now, the years he spent here alone, listening to echoes that don't belong to the present, the years he stood as the only barrier between the village and the world beyond. You look at him. You stayed, you say, all this time. He nods once. Somebody had to. Once you got out, I wasn't about to risk it taking anyone else. Why me's, you ask? Why did it want me? Why bring me back now? He looks straight at you, and there's no softness in his gaze anymore. Because you left a piece of yourself behind, he says. You left it in there. He jerks his chin toward the house. And it never liked unfinished work. The dog's breathing quickens, chest rising and falling in sharp, shallow bursts. He nudges your thigh hard, as if to steer you away from the line your father's drawing. The village around you feels tighter now, as if the alleys have crept a few inches closer. Roofs lean deeper. Windows watch harder. The snow seems to dampen sound not out of mercy, but so whatever happens here won't travel beyond its borders. You realize something then, quiet and terrible. Dad, you say slowly, if you've been here since it was erased, how are you still alive? He looks away. A muscle jumps in his cheek. The fracture doesn't let go, he says, not completely, not if you bargain with it. Your stomach turns. What did you trade? He doesn't answer. The doorway of the family house creaks, a sound like someone shifting their weight just inside the threshold. Another faint whisper threads through the air, brushing past your ear. Come in. Your childhood voice again, clearer this time, almost coaxing. Your feet move forward without permission. You take a single step before the dog slams himself against your leg, leaning all his weight into you, claws digging into the snow for traction. The sudden resistance snaps your balance, forcing you to plant your other foot hard, the jolt racing up your spine. Your father lunges too, catching your arm. "Don't listen," he snaps. "It's not you, it's never you." Your head pounds. "It sounds like me." "That's the point." You stand trembling between the pull of the house and the grip of your father and the steady, stubborn force of the dog. Snowflakes cling to your eyelashes. The air feels thinner, as if the village is adjusting the ratio of things you need to survive. "You said I left something there," you rasp. "What was it?" He hesitates. You see the war in his eyes, protectiveness gnawing at duty. "You gave it your fear," he says finally, "your memory of what you saw when you fell." You stare at him. "I don't remember being afraid." "I know," he says, "that's what I took from you. That night after the dog pulled you out, you were screaming, shaking, staring at nothing. I chose to take it away." He swallows. "I asked the fracture to keep the fear and the memory. In exchange, it had to let you live." The dog shifts, a low, uncertain sound rumbling in his chest. He doesn't understand the words, but he understands the weight. "So now it wants that back," you say. Your father's silence answers. You look at the house again. The doorway is still dark, but you sense a depth beyond it that doesn't match the structure, like a throat-swallowing light. "You can't stay here forever," you say to your father. "You're old. What happens when you're gone?" He huffs a bitter laugh. "That was the plan. I die here and maybe it sleeps, maybe it starves." "Does it?" you ask. He doesn't lie. "No idea," he says, "but it was the only thing I knew how to offer." You feel anger flare inside you, not white-hot, but low and steady. One more secret handed down without consent. One more sacrifice made on your behalf without asking if you wanted to bear it. "You should have told me," you say. His gaze hardens. "You were a kid." "I'm not now." "Too late now," he says. "You're here, it's awake, and you have to choose." The dog makes a sharp, protesting bark at that last word. "Choose what?" you demand. Your father looks at the house, at the well, at you, at the dog. "The village doesn't just take," he says. "It trades, it always trades. You want your fear back, your memory, it'll give them, but it'll ask for something in return." "What?" Your voice is a harsh whisper. He glances at the dog. Cold pools in your stomach, so suddenly you feel dizzy. "No," you say immediately. "No." His jaw flexes. "That's why he brought you here," your father says. "Not to lead you in, but to pull you out if you go too far. That's what they do. They reach into places we can't." The dog stands between you and the house, body trembling, eyes bright with a depth of emotion you don't have words for. You hear your childhood voice again, closer now, as if standing just inside the threshold. "Please," it says, "I'm still in here." Your heart wrenches. It's you, the you that didn't make it out, the you your father traded away, the you that saw something in the fracture and broke under it. You whisper, "If I don't go in, what happens to that part of me?" Your father answers without hesitation. "It stays," he says. "It keeps calling, maybe forever." "And if I do go in?" He doesn't speak. The silence is answer enough. Your father knows combat, strategy, risk, but he doesn't know how to fight whatever lives in that house. He can only stand outside and tell you which ways people have died here before. You close your eyes for a moment. You feel the dog's fur under your fingers, coarse and warm, his weight leaning into you, his presence steady as a heartbeat. You think of all the nights he lay at the foot of your bed, twitching in dreams you never understood, the way he sometimes barked at empty corners in your cabin, the way he woke before storms, pacing, whining, as if some old part of him recognized the pattern. You also think of waking up screaming, sometimes with no memory of the nightmare, just the taste of metal in your mouth and the sensation of falling sideways through nothing. How he would leap up, pause on the mattress, nose pressing your face until you came back. Maybe your fear didn't stay entirely gone. Maybe it just found a new shape. Snow hisses softly against the roofs. Your father speaks again, voice quieter. "I can't make this choice for you this time," he says. "I already did that once, and it brought you back here anyway." You open your eyes. The house waits. The well waits. The fracture between them hums just below hearing. You kneel beside the dog, pressing your forehead gently to his. His breath washes warm over your cheek. His heart thumps quick under your hands, but he doesn't pull away. You pulled me out once, you whisper, didn't you? His tail gives one shaky wag. You straighten. You step forward. The dog lunges in front of you, blocking the path, eyes wide, chest heaving. He refuses to move. You place both hands on his shoulders. Come with me, you say softly. He freezes. Then slowly he edges backward, step by reluctant step, never breaking eye contact, until his front paws hover just above the house's threshold. Your father's voice cracks across the square. Don't. You look back at him. If I walk away now, you say, I leave a part of myself screaming in that house forever. You really want that for me? Pain twists his features. No, he says, I wanted you never to hear it again. That didn't work, you reply. He closes his eyes briefly. When he opens them, there's something like resignation there, or acceptance, ragged and raw. If you go in that house, he says, it will show you everything, not just what you lost here, everything you've buried since, every fear, every failure. It'll pull until something snaps. And if something breaks, you ask. He looks at the dog. It'll try to take the only thing that can drag you out again, he says, him. The dog's head whips toward your father, then back to you. He seems to understand enough. Your chest feels split open. You stand between two hells, leaving part of yourself trapped forever in a ghost village, or risking the only being who has never left your side. The house breathes. You actually hear it now, a slow inhalation from inside the dark, like the boards themselves draw air. Your childhood voice floats out again, softer than snow. I'm scared, it says. Something inside you cracks. You whisper back before you can stop yourself. I know. The dog whines high and sharp, pacing a small, frantic circle in front of the threshold. He's torn in two, protect you by keeping you out, or protect you by staying close if you go in. You make the only choice that doesn't feel like surrender. You step onto the threshold. The air changes instantly. Every sound outside, the wind, your father's ragged breathing, the faint creak of the well muffles, as if cotton stuffed into your ears. The temperature drops, not like winter, but like walking into a room where something died long ago and never truly left. Behind you, the dog snarls. Not at you. At the darkness ahead. He shoves his body against your leg, so hard you stumble inward. Your father shouts something you don't catch. The house swallows the last of the outside light. And in that instant, you feel it, the fracture, the thinning, the place where the world frays. It's not a line. It's not a crack. It's a presence. It turns toward you like something waking from a long, hungry sleep. The dog's fur stands so tall his silhouette doubles. He bares his teeth at the dark. The book in your hand grows hot. The compass in your pocket goes dead. Then, the floor drops sideways. Not down, not up. Sideways. The world tilts in a direction your body was never meant to understand. You feel your father's hand grab at your coat too late. You feel the dog lunge, teeth catching fabric, his full weight yanking backward. You feel the fracture pull the other way. For a heartbeat, you are stretched between them. Your father, your dog, the village, all tugging at different pieces of you. Something tears. Not cloths, not bones. Something inside. The last thing you see before the darkness swallows you completely is the dog's eyes, wide, desperate, refusing to let go even as his paws skid on the splintering floor. And you know, with a clarity that freezes you from the inside out, if you fall all the way this time, you might drag him with you. You are falling. Not down. Not forward. Not any direction a sane world recognizes. The floor tilts away from you in a direction that has no compass point. The walls stretch, bending like wet clay. The air thickens, pushing against your skin as though you're sliding through cold breath rather than space. The dog's jaws clamp tighter on your coat. His teeth hold fabric that's shredding, thread by agonizing thread. You feel his weight yanking the other way, hard, desperate, but the fracture pulls with a patience that terrifies you. It isn't violent, it isn't frantic, it's inevitable, like gravity with intentions. Your father's voice shouts from somewhere far outside the collapsing geometry. Let go of him. You can't tell if he means the dog or the fracture. The house shudders. The doorway behind you collapses in on itself, not breaking, but folding like paper, sealing off any exit. Snowlight vanishes. Your father's silhouette flickers once before dissolving into the dark. The dog lunges again, claws scraping across the warped floor as he tries to drag you back toward a reality that's already fading. You feel the fracture's pull intensify. A pressure, then a cold, then a sound, a cry, your cry, a child's cry. Somewhere inside this twisting darkness, a younger version of you is still screaming. The fracture wants the rest of you to join him. The dog's growl deepens, not a warning, not a threat, but a refusal. He braces his body, planting all four paws against the sliding boards, muscles trembling, snarling as his strength strains against the pull. You don't know how he isn't ripped in half. You don't know how you are. You reach blindly for him, grabbing fur, skin, whatever your hands find, and your fingers lock around the collar you tied for him years ago. He whips his head toward you, eyes wild, terrified, determined. Don't let go, you gasp. But he doesn't need the words. He clamps harder. The floor jerks sideways again. The world elongates into a tunnel, walls stretching thin, colors draining into gray, sound warping until even your own breath sounds foreign. Your childhood voice echoes again. Help me. The dog barks violently, as if trying to drown it out. Then, a hand grabs your wrist. You jerk your head up. Your father is half inside the collapsing room, arms straining, body angled sideways as though reality is skewing around him too. The space behind him ripples like heat haze. He shouldn't be able to reach you, but he's there, fingers locking around your arm with impossible force. I said don't listen to it, he roars. You scream back through the distortion. I heard him. It's not him. His face contorts, fear, fury, grief carved into each line. It's WHATS left, not WHO. But the voice comes again, softer, more pleading, reaching into the soft places of you that grew up lonely, confused, never knowing why fear felt like déjà vu. Please, you left me here. Your father snarls, not like a human, but like a man fighting something ancient. He yanks on your arm. The dog yanks on your coat. The fracture yanks on your very being. You are the rope in a three-sided war. Then, a sound breaks through everything. Not a voice. Not the fracture. A howl. The dog throws his head back and unleashes a sound that shakes the world. It isn't just a howl, it's memory. Raw, echoing, bone deep. Behind the howl comes something else. Light, blue, gentle, pulsing. The same glow from the flowers in the earlier house blooms around the dog's paws, spreading outward in tendrils of light. They pulse in sync with his heartbeat, visible now, alive, defiant. Your father stares at the glow, shocked. That's how he pulled you out last time, he gasps. He found the seam. The seam. The one place where the fracture thins in your favor instead of its. The light crawls across the warped floor, threading under your back, lifting you an inch from the surface. You feel the pull of the fracture weaken, not gone, but fighting something equal at last. The dog howls again, louder. The light flares. Your childhood voice screams, not a plea this time, but anger, desperate, furious. No, take him. Your father grips your wrist harder. The dog drags backward with everything he has. The fracture shrieks. The walls convulse, the floor buckling, the roof drooping like melting metal. Shapes flicker in the shifting dark, faces, hands, silhouettes cut from shadows. all reaching, all wanting. The dog snarls at them, a sound so fierce you feel it vibrate through his entire spine. And then, the seam opens. A crack of real air punches into the collapsing room, cold, sharp, full of snow and the living world. It smells like salvation. The dog lunges backward. Your father pulls. The seam widens. Light and dark rip at you until something inside tears loose. A memory. You say it. You age 9, slipping through a doorway that wasn't a doorway. Falling sideways. Seeing something watching from the corner of a room that bent wrong. Screaming. Your dog, your first dog, biting your sleeve, dragging you up a slope that wasn't a floor. Your father grabbing you. Everything splitting. The house closing. You shivering blank-eyed. Your father making a bargain. The memory slams into your mind, so hard you almost vomit. You gasp. Your father shouts, voice cracking. Now come back. The dog lunges with a ferocity you've never seen, all 4 paws digging into the splintering floor. The seam flashes bright. Your shoulder clears the fracture. Your torso follows. Your legs whip free like someone yanked you out of deep water. The room collapses behind you with a sound like inhaling stone. Then, you're out. You slam into the snow outside the house, skidding across icy ground, your father crashing beside you, the dog tumbling into your chest with a terrified yelp. Cold air floods your lungs. Wind batters your face. Snowflakes sting your eyes. You are back in the village. Alive. Breathing. Whole. No, not whole. You feel something else inside you now. A weight. A pulse. A memory that wasn't there before. Fear that finally came home. The dog collapses at your side, chest heaving, ears pinned back, eyes glassy with exhaustion. You grab him, pulling his body against yours. You're okay, you whisper, voice shaking. You're okay. Your father drags himself to his knees, panting, face pale. You weren't supposed to remember that, he chokes. You look up at him, eyes burning. I didn't have a choice. He shakes his head, horror dawning. No, you don't understand, if you remember. You feel it before he finishes the sentence. Something inside the house stirs. The doorway bulges outward, as though something presses from the other side, something shaped like you as a child. Your father whispers the words you least want to hear. It can follow you now. The doorway bulges. Wood bends without breaking, warping outward as though something inside is inflating the house like a lung. Snowflakes swirl backward, sucked toward the threshold. The very air tilts, bending around the structure in slow, nauseating pulses. Your father staggers to his feet. Get back, he rasps, it's crossing. The dog scrambles upright, wobbling, his paws slipping in the churned snow. But the moment he sees the house arch forward, his entire posture changes. Fear becomes fury. Not reckless. Protective. He plants himself in front of you, barking so violently, the sound cracks the cold. You stand too, knees weak, lungs burning with air that feels too thin. What happens if it crosses, you ask, though part of you already knows. Your father's eyes stay locked on the distorting doorway. It stops needing the house. The wood splits, not breaking outward, but unweaving, like threads pulled from fabric. Through the unraveling geometry, a shape appears. Small. Human. Hunched. A child. You. But wrong. Wrong in the way reflections warp in metal bowls. Wrong in the way your shadow acted a heartbeat too slow the first time you entered the house. The child thing tilts its head. Its eyes are yours from decades ago, wide, scared, but the pupils stretch too long, like someone pulled reality sideways behind them. The dog's bark breaks into a snarl. Your father grabs your arm. Don't look at it, he mutters. It's not you, it's not even a memory, it's what the fracture made from what you left behind. But it talks like you. Why'd you leave me? It whispers. The words stab through you. Your stomach twists, your breath faltering. The guilt hits from two angles, the memory of leaving and the knowledge that you never wanted to. That something tore you out while this echo stayed behind. Your father steps in front of you, voice trembling with controlled rage. You're not him. The child thing blinks slowly, its lashes too long, shadowy wisps bending with the air. Its voice lilts upward, confused, earnest. But I remember you. You said you'd come back. He flinches. Your father has spent 50 years carrying guilt like a second spine. Hearing the thing speak in your childhood cadence nearly breaks him. You step around him. He grabs your sleeve, not to stop you, but to make sure you don't go too close. The dog inches forward at your side. Hackles raised. Teeth bared. One paw lifted, trembling with tension. The child thing steps out fully. Its feet do not break the snow. They sink too deep, ankles vanishing into white as if gravity miscalculates around it. The world glints strangely around its outline, light bending, snowflakes spiraling in patterns. Come back, it whispers. We can finish the fall. The dog lunges before you can react. Not to attack. To stop you from stepping forward. He slams into your leg, barking so savagely the entire square feels smaller. The child thing's mouth twitches. Not a smile. Not anger. Recognition. It knows him. I remember you, it says softly. You pulled him away, you kept him. Its voice sharpens, edges splitting like thin ice. You weren't supposed to. The air bends. A ripple spreads outward from the creature, silent, invisible, but the dog's body reacts first. His muscles seize, his back arches, his paws skid 2 inches across the snow. You grab him instinctively, pulling him close. The child thing steps nearer, each footfall sucking deeper into the snow. I needed him, it murmurs. He took him. Your father speaks again, loud, hard. You took the whole village, he took nothing. The child thing's face twists, not grotesquely, but heartbreakingly, like a child refusing to understand. I was alone. You feel that. Too sharply. Too deeply. You remember that fear, the sense of falling, the impossible angle of the room, the helplessness of not being able to call for your father because the fracture had stolen your voice, a fear so huge your mind cracked. The dog presses his body against yours, grounding you. The child thing's eyes widen, pupils elongating further. You came back, it says. You brought all of you this time. Your spine goes cold. Your father curses under his breath. It doesn't want just fear, he says. It wants the whole memory, the whole self, everything it didn't get before. The child thing lifts its hand. Reality ripples outward like a stone dropped into still water. The village distorts. The snow vibrates. Lanterns flicker violently. Houses lean inward. The well shakes, dust avalanching from its rim. The fracture is widening. You shouldn't have come, your father whispers. The child thing stares at the dog. Its voice drops to a breath. You don't belong, you broke it, you kept him whole. The dog growls, a low rolling thunder in his chest. He steps forward. You grab his collar, but he keeps moving, slow, deliberate, protective. His tail is stiff, fur bristling, breath blasting clouds into the icy air. The child thing tilts its head again. You want to keep him. Its voice curls, curious. Trade. Your father's voice explodes. No. The child thing looks at him, unbothered. You traded, it says simply. You gave me what I wanted. You gave me the fear. Your father shakes, not from cold. You were tearing him apart, he spits. I gave you what you were already taking. The child thing looks at you again. You brought the missing piece, it whispers. You came to give it back. Your heart pounds so violently it hurts. The dog shuffles sideways, blocking your body completely from the creature. Your father steps up beside him. 2 shields. One old, one loyal, both trembling. The child thing smiles. a tiny, fragile smile you once wore in old photos. "I want the rest," it says. Your father screams. "Run!" The village collapses inward. Every house caves toward the square. Snow avalanches. The compass in your pocket spins wildly. The seam you escaped shrieks open again. The dog shoves his entire body into your legs, forcing you backward just as the child thing reaches out. You fall onto the snow. Your father grabs your arm. The dog stands over you, teeth bared, snarling so fiercely you feel spit fleck your cheek. For the first time, the child thing looks afraid. "You weren't supposed to bring him," it whispers. Snow explodes upward as the well cracks open from within. Your father yanks you to your feet. "Listen to me," he shouts. You want the truth, all of it. It's not in that house. It's not in that child. It's in the well. You stare at him, stunned. The well. The village didn't die because of the fracture, he says. It died because of what the fracture showed. The child thing recoils at the words. Your father lifts his face to the storm, voice shaking. It wasn't here to take us. He looks at you. It was here to reveal us. The snow stills. The wind pauses. The village holds its breath. And the dog presses tighter against your leg, trembling with something too old and too true. Your father whispers. You didn't just fall into the fracture. You saw what was inside. You saw the truth of this place, and you screamed. The child thing lets out a sound, thin, strangled. You can't tell him, it shrieks. Your father steps toward the well. You were the last witness, he says. A choked laugh escapes him. I was never the one it wanted. The dog whimpers sharply, fear, not pain. You realize. The well is glowing. Blue. Like the flowers. Like the seam. Like memories. Your father reaches for the rim. The child thing lunges. The dog leaps faster. Snarling. Teeth bared. A shield of fur and fury. Your father shouts. Look into the well now. You whirl toward it. And everything the village has hidden for 50 years begins to tear itself open. You move toward the well. The snow seems to thin under your boots, each step landing more on light than on ice. The blue glow seeping from the stone circle grows brighter, pulsing in slow waves that match the pounding in your chest. Behind you, chaos holds its breath. Your father wrestles with the child thing, his body between it and you. The dog stays at your side, pressed against your leg so tightly you can feel each trembling muscle. The well waits. You reach the rim. The stone is warm under your gloved hands, not gentle warmth, fever warmth. You lean forward. The glow surges. At first you see only blue, depthless, endless, like an ocean flipped upside down. Then shapes begin to form, rising out of the light like memories surfacing from deep water. The village. Alive. Snow falling softer, roof straight, windows bright, smoke curling from chimneys in lazy spirals, voices, laughter, the ring of metal on metal, of buckets on stone, of doors opening and closing with ordinary urgency. You know this scene. You were here. The view sinks lower, drawing you down into the picture until you stand in the square again, but younger, shorter, unscarred. Your hands are bare, fingers red from cold. A dog leans against your leg, older than the one beside you now, gray on the muzzle, eyes as watchful and warm. You watch yourself from both inside and outside. Your father moves through the square, younger too, back straight, shoulders broad, uniform jacket zipped tight. He talks to other adults with hushed urgency, gesturing toward the tree line, the mountains beyond. Soldiers linger at the edges, your old unit insignia on their sleeves, weapons slung with uneasy familiarity. This was supposed to be a posting, you realize, a job, a watch on the border. The fracture didn't come first. You did. The memory shifts. Snow thickens, wind sharpens. The storm that would become the one you just walked through gathers on the horizon like a bruise. Into the village stagger strangers. Parents, children, faces split by cold and fear. They come from the trees, wrapped in thin coats, clutching bags that bulge with desperate essentials. Their accents are different. Their clothing too, not locals, not soldiers. Refugees. You watch a woman stumble, a child clinging to her side. You watch a man cough so hard he bends double. You watch villagers emerge from houses, eyes wide, mouths tight. The soldiers step forward. Your father among them. Orders fly, snatches of sound you can't fully hear, though you remember the tone. You remember the way people looked at the refugees like a problem instead of people. You remember the way your father's jaw tensed, the way he glanced once at you, at your dog, then back at the storm. The village wasn't afraid of the fracture that night. It was afraid of responsibility. Doors close. Curtains twitch. Someone says there isn't enough food, enough fuel, enough space. Someone else mutters about rules, about border protocols, about not getting involved. You stand in the middle of the square, 9 years old, hand on your dog's neck, watching grown adults decide not to save people who will die without shelter. Your younger self tugs your father's sleeve. You see it now, fresh and sharp. Your eyes, those same eyes, looking up at him. We can fit some, you say, in our house, just for the night. Your father looks torn in half. The commander speaks. He shakes his head. Your father's mouth hardens. He looks at the refugees, at the storm, at you. Something inside him bends toward disobedience. The commander's gaze lands on you, on the child clinging to his father's sleeve. And your father breaks. He hears danger in the commander's silence. He is responsible for you. He nods once, short. We can't, he tells you. You remember this moment now. The memory stabs back into place like a knife, finding an old wound. You remember the betrayal, not abstract, not political, personal. The realization that the man who taught you about right and wrong was choosing wrong and using rules to justify it. You remember your throat trying to form protest and only managing a soundless ache. The refugees are turned away. They stand at the village edge, snow collecting on their shoulders, faces blank with exhausted disbelief. Someone hands them a scrap of information, a cabin farther down the range maybe. You can make it if you hurry, a villager says, as if the storm itself isn't sharpening like knives. They go. They have no choice. The vision follows them for a few heartbeats, enough to show you a child stumbling, a man lifting her with shaking arms, a woman glancing back once at the village, eyes full of something like accusation. Then the memory pulls you back to the square. Night falls. Wind roars. The village shudders itself in comfort while outside, on the mountain, families walk into white oblivion. You remember lying in your small bed, ceiling dark, blankets tucked around your chin. You remember hearing the storm and thinking about the thin coats you saw, the hollow cheeks, the way the child's fingers clutched her mother's sleeve. You remember your dog pacing. He whined at the door, scratched at it, circled, restless, agitated by something beyond weather. You could have rolled over. You could have shut your eyes. You were 9. You didn't. You got up. You opened the door. The vision tilts, following your smaller self out into the storm. The wind slaps your face, but your dog pushes ahead, nose down, following a scent only he understands. You remember that walk now. Half frozen, half frantic, trying to find their tracks in the night. You don't make it far. The storm is too strong. The world tilts wrong. The dog stops at the edge of the village, hackles up, growling at what looks like nothing. And then you see it. The fracture. A shimmer in the air above the well. Like heat over asphalt. Like breath in freezing air. Like a doorway made of wrong. Your 9-year-old self steps closer, drawn not by curiosity but by guilt, by the desperate, childish hope that maybe there's some secret way to fix what grown-ups broke. The dog barks at the shimmer. He backs up, teeth bared, tail tucked. You step forward. The air caves. The world folds sideways. You fall. The well in the vision becomes a tunnel of blue light, walls slick with images, not tentacles, not monsters, just scenes. Too many signs. You see the refugees hours later, huddled under a rock ledge, snow piling against their backs, lips blue, eyes dull. You see them realize they won't make it. You see them hold each other anyway. You see villagers talking inside warm rooms, convincing themselves they had no choice. You see children's faces turned away at other borders, other roads, other villages, other years. The fracture didn't just show you that night. It showed you every time this place had looked away. Every face lost because it was easier not to know. Your 9-year-old self screams, not from seeing monsters, but from seeing what humans did when they were afraid. From seeing your father at the center of one of those choices. Inside the well's vision, your child self curls into a tight ball, hands over ears, eyes shut, but the images force themselves in anyway. You understand now why your mind broke. You understand why your father traded your memory away. He wanted you to grow up without that knowledge. He wanted you to believe he was weaker, lesser, more ordinary than he'd been that night. He didn't want you to know that the fracture judged him and found him wanting. The light surges. You see him at the well later, after your dog drags you half out of the crack, after soldiers and villagers pull your shaking body free. He kneels at the rim, fists clenched, and whispers into the fracture. Take it from him, give it to me, I'll remember, let him forget. The fracture listens. Your fear pours out of you like smoke. It pours into the child echo that becomes the thing in the house. And into him. Into the man who will stay here for half a century, keeping vigil over the village he helped doom. The vision shifts again. You see the refugees' bodies discovered days later, half buried in snow. You see your father insist on burying them, carving simple markers while the commander mutters about protocol and secrecy. You see him resign. You see him volunteer to stay. You see him become the last witness, not because the fracture chose him, but because he chose himself for punishment. The light contracts, shrinking back down the depth of the well. You're left staring at blackness. Then your own reflection appears on the surface, your current face, older, scarred, eyes carrying wars within and beyond this place. The dog's reflection appears beside yours, ears pricked, gaze steady. Your father's reflection joins, lines deep, eyes hollow and full. 3 witnesses. For the first time, the well isn't pulling you in. It's showing you a choice. Behind you, the child thing screams. It lunges, voice shredding. Don't look, don't look. Your father grapples with it, his hands passing halfway through its half-solid skin as if resting with thick smoke. The dog wheels away from the well, placing himself between you and the echo. He barks with a rawness that sounds like it tears his throat. The echo points at him, voice cracking. I was alone because of him. You turn. Your voice comes out low, rough, but clear. No, you say, you were alone because of us. The word sticks in your throat, but you force it out. Because of me, because of him, because of everyone who lived here and chose not to open their doors. The dog didn't do this, we did. The echo falters. Its distorted eyes flicker, expanding and contracting, trying to twist your guilt toward itself. I hurt, it whispers, you left me with all of it. You nod. Yeah, you say softly, I did, I let him take it, I let you carry it alone. Your father chokes out your name, you were a child. And you were afraid, you cut in gently, eyes on him. We all were, that doesn't erase what happened. The village groans around you, houses cracking, snow slumping from roofs, lanterns swinging wildly as if in a storm of their own. The dog stands firm, steadying his weight against your leg. You take a slow breath. You look at the echo, your fear given shape. I'm done pretending you're not real, you say. You saw what I saw, you felt what I felt, you screamed for both of us. Its lips tremble. You can't carry it, it whispers, you'll break. You feel the jagged edges of memory pressing inside your skull, threatening to splinter you. Maybe you will. Maybe you won't. But you're not alone this time. You glance down at the dog. He looks back, eyes full of something fierce and steady. You put one hand on his back, feeling his heart thrumming like a small drum of defiance. This time you tell the echo quietly, we carry it together. You reach out. Not toward the house. Not toward the fracture. Toward the echo. Your father shouts your name, voice torn between terror and hope. The echo tries to recoil, but the village itself keeps it here now, bound to the square, to the well, to the truth it was built on. Your fingers brush its skin. It feels like touching cold smoke and hot glass at the same time, numbness and burning overlapping. Memories flood. Not scenes this time, sensations. Every fear you didn't want. Every scream. Every moment of helplessness. But they don't pour into you alone. You feel the dog shudder under your other hand, but he doesn't move away. He leans into you, taking some of the weight, some of the terror, into the simple, solid reality of his warm body and beating heart. You feel your father step closer, one calloused hand landing on your shoulder. 3 points of contact. 3 witnesses sharing what one child was never meant to hold. The echo shakes. Its edges blur. It looks at you, eyes huge, wet, changing. Will it hurt? It asks. It already does, you answer. But it won't just be yours anymore. It closes its eyes. For the first time since you heard its voice, it looks at peace. The village shudders around you. The well flares. The echo dissolves, not into the fracture, not into the house, but into you, into your chest, your bones, your mind, where it should have gone all along. You cry out as the weight lands. Not a scream of terror. A sound of impact. The dog yelps once, then presses even closer, his body anchoring you to the here and now. His presence feels like a hand on your back, keeping you from tipping entirely into the well of what-ifs. Your father grips your shoulder so hard it hurts. The glow from the well dims. The air steadies. The houses stop lining. The storm softens. You stand in the square, trembling, chest heaving, head pounding with the fullness of what you now remember. You see the refugees. You see the choices. You see the fracture's brutal honesty. And you finally see yourself, not just as victim, not just as survivor, but as someone who lived in a place that failed and still found a way to pull at least one person back. You. Above the well, the blue light flickers one last time. Then it goes out. Snow drifts lazily into the dark circle. The fracture closes. For the first time since you arrived, the village's silence feels empty. Not hungry. Just done. The dog lifts his head, sniffing the air. His tail moves slowly once, twice. Your father exhales a breath that shakes loose decades. It let go, he whispers. You turn to him. So can you say. He looks at you in a way he never has before, as someone equal, someone who knows, someone he doesn't have to protect with silence anymore. Tears freeze at the corners of his eyes, tiny crystals clinging to lashes that have seen too much. I don't know how, he admits. You glance down at the dog. He nudges your hand. Maybe he does, you say softly. The dog steps forward, bridging the space between you and your father. He leans his head against the old man's leg. Your father freezes. Then his shoulders drop, the first sign of surrender in 50 years. He rests a hand on the dog's head. Thank you, he whispers, voice wrecked. The dog sighs, a quiet, content sound in the settling cold. Above you, the clouds thin. A star appears. Just one. It's enough. You stand in the middle of the square, long after the blue glow fades from the well. The dog leans against your leg, exhausted but steady. His breaths come slow, rhythmic, visible in the brittle winter air. Your father stands on your other side, shoulders bent, not with age, but with a weight finally shifting. The storm has softened to a whisper. For the first time, the village doesn't feel like it's watching you. It feels empty. Quiet. At rest. You take a breath. The simple act feels different, deeper, unblocked, like an attic window shoved open after years of dust piling against it. The memories inside you, your childhood self's terror, the fractures' visions, the refugees' faces, haven't gone silent. They hum under your skin with a new kind of truth, heavier than before but also clearer. Carried, not hidden, not alone. Your father breaks the silence first. Look, he whispers. You follow his pointing hand. The village, this impossible, buried place, begins to dissolve. Not in a flash, not in a collapse, in a thaw. Roofs shed their weight of snow. Walls flicker, transparency blooming through wood grain. Lanterns dim until the metal frames are just shadows in the air. You watch an entire forgotten history melt like frost under sunlight. The dog steps closer to you, lifting his chin, eyes reflecting the vanishing world. Something like understanding flickers in them, maybe not of the fracture, not of memory or guilt, but of endings. Your father swallows hard. I should have left a long time ago, he murmurs. I stayed because I thought it was my punishment, but that wasn't what it wanted. You turn to him. What did it want? He looks at you, really looks, as if seeing not the soldier or the child he tried to protect, but the person standing beside him now. It wanted the truth shared, he says, not buried, it wanted witnesses. Your breath fogs quietly between you. Then we did what it asked, you say. He nods once, slow. Together this time. The dog bumps your father's hand with his nose, seeking a scratch. It startles him for a second, then he huffs out a laugh, hoarse, cracked, but real. He scratches behind the dog's ears, fingers trembling. Good boy, he whispers. You saved him twice. The dog presses harder against his leg, as if accepting the acknowledgement he waited 50 years to hear. You all watch as the last house, the one with your family name, fades like ink in snowmelt. It gives a soft sigh as it goes, a sound like releasing its final breath. The well flickers last. A thin line of blue pulses once more. Then goes dark. A gust of wind sweeps through the clearing. When it passes, the village is gone. Only snow remains. A blank white field. Smooth, unbroken, silent. Your father turns to you. His expression is unrecognizable, not burdened, not hollow, not haunted. Still tired, yes, still scarred, but lighter, like a man stepping out of a room he'd forgotten was locked. What happens now? He asks. You look across the empty expanse, at the dog who has stood between you and death more than once, at your father who stayed behind to guard a graveyard of choices. You speak quietly. We go home. He watches your face, uncertain. Can I? Your throat tightens. The dog looks between you both, tail giving a small, hopeful thump. You nod. You already have, you say. Your father's eyes shine. He doesn't hide the emotion. He doesn't look away. And you, he asks. You exhale slowly, feeling the fracture's last echoes drift away from your mind like smoke. I'm not leaving anything behind this time. The dog steps forward in the snow, shaking off the cold, ears lifting at the change in your voice. He trots a few paces ahead toward the tree line, toward the real world, the living world, then looks back, tail wagging once, eager. A path forms in the snow behind him, faint but steady. Your father nods at the dog. He always knew the way. You smile, small, tired, honest. Yeah, he did. Together, 3 survivors, 3 witnesses. You follow the dog across the field where a village once stood. The snow begins to fall gently again. Not like a storm. Like a blanket. Like closure. The wind carries no voices now. No whispers. No echoes. Just the sound of your footsteps. And the soft, patient padding of the dog who refused to let you fall.